Gentlemen, start your engines.
Welcome back for more. There are games galore, so put your foot to the floor and drive through the retro door. Welcome back everybody, and thanks for joining me on another episode. So today, well actually I'll start that again. Prior to or after filming the two game room tour videos, by accident, I just started sort of taking stock of what I'd got really. And sort of going forwards this year, I've decided I'd like to try and add to my Saturn collection. Because a few years ago I moved house and unfortunately things had to get thinned out because, you know, room was a problem. So I had to sell quite a bit of the collection to be able to move house. And unfortunately the Saturn was one of the systems that kind of got thinned out a bit too much. So I've decided this year I'm going to try and get back a few of the games I've sold and maybe even get some that I've never had or, you know, never even tried before. So with that in mind, what I thought I'd do is as we are now, January 2022, I just thought I'd run through my entire Saturn collection, and it'll be quite useful for me then to say maybe this time next year to look back and see, you know, what I have been able to add to it over the 12 months. So that's kind of my idea, and you know, it gives me kind of a starting point which I can look back on next year and sort of see what I did manage to add. Anyway, enough of the waffle, let's crack on. So, as you're probably mostly all aware, I don't collect PAL games. I've only got one just in case I need one to test anything, and it's just an unboxed Manx TT, so I'm not going to show that. I've got one American game. Again, I don't collect American games because it's just easier just to plug the Japanese games in the Japanese machine. But I did keep this one American game because it's got kind of sentimental value. It's the game I was probably most sort of eagerly anticipating before it came out. It was the, I don't know, I'd got the biggest amount of like excitement and couldn't wait for it to be released. And when I finally got it and threw it in the Saturn, whoa, what a feeling. And I can remember, you know, oh, it looks so good. And I mean, I still love it now, but at the time it was just mind-blowing. I know it's not, you know, it's nothing as good as the arcade, but it plays amazing. That's the most important thing. And I'm talking about Sega Rally, because this is the original version I had, because I think it came out American first. I'm not 100%, but I think it did. I certainly saw the American one and had the American one first, and I'm pretty sure it did come out American first, which is why I had it, because I think the Japanese one and the British one have got a few slight modifications over this version, but I've always kept it purely for that nostalgic value. And it is a nice silver cover. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Obviously US Saturn games are usually like a creamy white colour, but this one is silver because it's so damn good. Right, enough of that. So I'm not going to dwell too long on these. Don't want the video to last forever. Don't want anybody falling asleep. I don't want to bore you to death any more than I normally do. So first off, Decathlon, cracking multi-sports event sort of athletics game. I think Daley Thompson's Decathlon, and it looks fantastic in the high-res mode on the Saturn. Then we've got the amazing Chase HQ. Also comes with SCI, but it's mainly Chase HQ. I bought this for. Did a video on it a while back. It's probably the best way to play Chase HQ. It's either this or the FM Thames Martyr, which I did have back, you know, a few years ago. I kind of regret selling. That's very good as well, but you can't go wrong with the Saturn version, to be honest. And then we've got, now this was a launch game. When I had this when I had my Japanese Saturn. Gale Racer, which is Radmobile in the arcade. It's by no means great, but I do kind of have a soft spot for it, and I do quite like the game. I mean, that's a Jap exclusive. That never came out in PAL. And then we've got a Japanese Manx TT Superbike. Now, I mean, it's good, but I never felt the same way about Manx TT as I did some of the other arcade racers that Sega made. I don't know what it was, I never quite got on so well with Manx TT. And then we've got the updated Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition. They improved the graphics, you know, the visuals tremendously, but why oh why did they ruin the gameplay? The gameplay was perfect on the first one. It was just the graphics that were poor. The graphics are much better on this one, and the controls just, it's not right. Tried many times, can't get on with it. Then we've got Virtua Racing. Love this game. Again, the Saturn version is not exactly like the arcade. It's made by Time Warner. It's not an actual Sega conversion, I don't think. But it was good. I really loved this back in the day. It's not as good now, obviously. The one on the Switch is the best. That's an incredible game. And the 32X version I think is better than this. But it's still a good game. Then we've got the Sublime Daytona USA. Now, as I've just said, the graphics might not be great, but it plays incredible. Still plays incredible to this day. What an amazing game. One of my all-time favourites, as you're probably well aware. And then again, this is the Japanese Sega Rally. Much nicer box, I think. But what a great game. Still plays amazing to this day. Phenomenal game on the Saturn. I mean, it's hard to argue against, you know, this being the best game on the Saturn. For me, anyway. Then we've got Virtua Fighter 2. Another incredible game. That Christmas when Sega Rally, Virtua Fighter 2 and Virtua Cop all came out on the Saturn. Man, those PlayStation owners' jaws were on the floor. They'd got nothing like as good as that on their console, had they? I jest. A bit. I mean it a bit. Right, then we've got Virtua Fighter Remix, which kind of tidied up the first Virtua Fighter, which was launch game, obviously. Graphics are much nicer on this one. It is a good game. And then we've got, there we go. That's the packing title with the Japanese console that I had back in the day. Original Virtua Fighter. Not bad. I mean, obviously today it looks quite simple, but it's still, you know, still perfectly playable. Then we've got, a classic, House of the Dead. What more can you say? House of the Dead, it's just light gun game, zombies, Sega arcade. What a great game. Admittedly not the best on the Saturn. Not as good as other, you know, later versions. Then we've got Virtua Cop2. Again, love a light gun game. And along with Time Crisis, Virtua Cop for me is the best ones. Fantastic. And then we've also got Virtua Cop 1, the original. I've got this, you know, in the box set with the gun. Fantastic game, still brilliant to this day for me. Right, next one we've got Nissan Overdriving. which is in fact the Need for Speed, or the Japanese version of a Need for Speed. Obviously it's got kind of a Nissan license on it, but it is Need for Speed. Not bad. A big fan of the 3DO original, which I think is better than this, but great to have it on the Saturn in any case. Then we've got the amazing Pantry Dragoon 2. Did everything the first one did, only better. Fantastic game. Still great to this day. And then we've also got Pantry Dragoon 1. Again, still a great game. Fantastic to play still. I'm a big fan of the Switch version, to be honest. A lot of people knock it, but I think it's brilliant. But Pantry Dragoon. I haven't got Saga, unfortunately. Not sure it'd be that playable in Japanese. I've never tried it. Wouldn't mind getting it one day. I'm certainly not paying 600 or 700 quid for a PAL version. And then we've got Wing Arms, which I've always quite liked. This kind of an arcadey flight, sort of flying sim. I wouldn't say it's a simulator. Sort of flying combat-y. It's like an arcadey flight game. It's really quite, you know. Not played it for some time, but it was really rather good, as I remember. And it's a Sega game, I think. I'm sure it is. Yeah, Sega. Then we've got, now I don't buy many sports games, but we've got here Hat Trick Hero S, which is a Taito game. But it's just a very arcadey football game. In a similar vein to Sidekick Soccer on the Neo Geo. And one on the SNES as well. Super Soccer Champ. It's the American version, I think. But yeah, it's a good little game, that Hat Trick Hero S. If you like football, which I'm not a big fan of, but you know, because it's arcade, I can play that. Then another one that don't seem to get much love, Clockwork Knight. I really think this is a great little game, platformer, brilliant graphics. But I suppose it was the kind of thing people didn't want back in the day. You know, everybody wanted 3D polygons, and this was kind of, you know, a cool side-on old school style platform with fancier graphics. But I think it's brilliant. Clockwork Knight. And then we've also got Clockwork Knight 2, which, you know, more of the same. Really good. Big fan of this series. Something else that's long gone and dead in the water. Then we've got, now this is a game I never thought I'd like back in the day. But I really did quite get on with it and think it's really good actually. And that's Virtua On. Sort of robot mech 3D fighting, where you can take cover behind sort of shelter within the fighting arena. Kind of Virtua Fighter with kind of robot mechs in a way, only on a bigger area where you can hide, and you know, I really think it's a good game. There's a sequel on the Dreamcast which I've had in the past and got rid of, and that's another one is on my hit list to find again. Then we've got Vampire Hunter, Darkstalkers Revenge. And I really do like the Darkstalkers games, and this is a real good one. But I like all the ones I've played, but yeah, that's Vampire Hunter on the Saturn. Then we've got Grand Chaser. Now this was called something else on PAL, Cyber Speedway. Kind of a Wipeout clone, I suppose. Though I think this might have come out before Wipeout actually. So I suppose you could say Wipeout is a clone of this in some ways. But yeah, it's the basic same principle as Wipeout. Futuristic sort of racer game. Not played it for a long time. I can imagine it looks not the best now. But I did really enjoy this back in the day. And I'd imagine that's cheap on PAL, Cyber Speedway. Might be worth checking out. Then we've got, I used to love this back in the day. I played this quite recently and it don't seem anywhere near as good as I remember it. and that's Hang On GP95. I absolutely loved this when it came out, but I don't know, don't look that good now, but it's fun to go back to now and again. Oh, this is another one. This was absolutely gobsmacking back in the day. I can remember this coming out. Oh god, it looked the graphics were absolutely incredible. F1 Live Information. Now, I was a massive F1 fan back in the sort of 80s and 90s, and you know, I used to love Super Monaco GP, and obviously the Mega Drive version was nothing like the arcade graphically. And when this came out, god, the tracks and the scenery, and you know, it was so good. This is another one I'd guess would look quite bad if you went back to it now, but oh, the memories. Absolutely loved this game back in the day. There weren't many tracks, as I remember, like 5 tracks or something, which is ludicrous really, but oh, it was so good back in the day. Anybody got any memories of that one? I must try that again at some point. Oh no, this one is yeah, well, self-explanatory. Christmas Nights. Now, I never liked Nights, I must be honest, at the time. Had it in the box set with the controller, but I don't know, just couldn't get on with it. It just seemed like, I don't know, really hard to explain. It didn't really feel like kind of felt like a demo, or I don't know, just didn't seem much of a game to me. So I never bothered with it. And then in recent years, you know, you hear people rave about it and you think, well, what are they raving about? You know, I'm going to have to try this again. And so I did. And I really quite like it now. It's quite a good game. And, you know, it still looks quite nice, I think, on the Saturn. It's a good game. That's the original Knights, obviously. This is the one I had in the big box with the controller back in the day. Unfortunately, not got the big box anymore. But yeah, then the Christmas Night. I think Christmas Nights was it free on a UK Saturn mag, I think. But anyway, you have to buy it in Japan. So it's nice to have the set. And then we've got an all-time classic, one of my favourites. Amazing conversion. That's Power Drift. If you like arcade races and you've got a Saturn, honestly, you need Power Drift in your life. Absolutely amazing game. Still amazing now. Love this game. And this is the best way you can play it on the Saturn. The PC Engine version's good, but you know, the Saturn version, incredible. And then ditto what I've just said for this one. The greatest game of all time, Outrun on the Sega Saturn. Phenomenal. Still play it regular. Absolutely love it now as much as I did in '86. If you've not played this, why not? You must play this game. And then another absolute classic, and again, possibly the best way to play it on the Saturn, and that's Space Harrier. Phenomenal game. And as I say, it's another Sega Ages game on the Saturn, and it's brilliant. I'm sure everybody's played Space Harrier. Now, I am missing Afterburner, unfortunately. That's one I got rid of, and which I'd like to buy again at some point, because that's kind of part of that set. Right, next one. Now, this is another Jap exclusive. We've got, this is like a racing game. It's called Wang Dead Heat. And it's kind of Japanese street racing, kind of Initial D type game. Not played it a great deal, but it's not bad as I remember. It's been a few years since I played it. There's quite a bit of text, I think, but it's not too bad. Like I say, I'm sure there's no version outside of Japan. That's Wang Dead Heat. Then in a similar vein, we've got King the Spirits. Now again, back in the day, this looked really good when it come out. There's some massive changes of elevation. Some of the tracks are really steep and hilly. Never seen anything like it back at the time, and it really was really good. And I mean, graphically, it's showing its age, which a lot of this 32-bit early 3D polygon stuff does. You know, it don't look good when you look at it now. A lot of it, but I've got it running, I think. Well, I did have. It was on. But anyway, it's made by Atlas, so obviously they're quite well regarded now, aren't they? But yeah, it's a good little racer. Why is that not on there? Anyway, we've got the sequel here, King the Spirits 2. I'm not sure if this came out outside of Japan. The first one did, but not on PAL. On American it was High Velocity, I think it's called. This one, the graphics are a bit tidier on this one. But as I say, I think it's Japanese only. Two good games. Then we've got... I don't know why that's gone off. Right, then we've got a little puzzle game. Baku Baku Animal. Just called Baku Baku on PAL. Quite a fun little Tetris style game. Nice funky graphics. Pretty good. Then we've got, this is a great compilation disc. Two Mega Drive classics, Castle of Illusion and Quackshot on one disc. How can you go wrong? Two fantastic games. Big fan of both. That's a Jap exclusive, obviously. And then again, these are Jap exclusives, I believe. I certainly didn't come out PAL. We've got Capcom Generation 1, which is 1942 and 43 on one disc. So that's real nice. I think there are 5 of these altogether. That's number 1, as I say. I've not got all 5, unfortunately. Then we've got Capcom Generation 2. Now this has got Girls and Ghosts and Super Girls and Ghosts. Amazing collection. And then we've got Saturn Bomberman. Now this is, I've never tried it, but this is 10 player. I mean, you'd need 2 multi-taps and a lot of controllers and a lot of friends. But it must be manic. But it's a cracking little game. Obviously, you can't go wrong with Bomberman, can you? Right, not far to go now. We've got Bug 2. I need the first Bug, unfortunately. Again, this ain't aged that well. Kind of 2.5D platformer. I still quite like it, but if you've never played it before, I can imagine this looks quite creaky. And then we've got Street Fighter the movie. Now again, this is not aged well. At the time it was kind of interesting and funky, you know, with digitised sprites, kind of like, I suppose they'd copied Mortal Kombat and Pit Fight and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't the way to go, was it? But it's a curiosity now, if nothing else. Then we've got Guardian Heroes. Fantastic game, obviously made by Treasure, you probably all know. But yeah, it's a shame, there's quite a bit of text, which is, you know, it's a shame about the Japanese version, but it's still a quality game and you can still play it fine. Brilliant game. Then we've got Last Bronx, which is, I think that's the last Sega arcade fighter that got released on the Saturn. Good game, good 3D fighter. That's Last Bronx. And then the final one, we've got Dead or Alive. Quite a big fan of the Dead or Alive series. And this one's kind of in a nice slipcase. bit of damage unfortunately, but yeah, it's a good game. And it's nice to have it. And that's the entirety of the collection at the moment. Like I say, there's quite a few that got sold, unfortunately, that I need to get back in my life. A few of the fighting games I had. Used to have King of Fighters. Like I said, I want Afterburner back. Fighting Vipers I need to get back. Virtua Fighter Kids I want to get back. Can't think off the top of my head. There's quite a few, obviously 2D Capcom fighters I'd like to get. Oh, the X-Men, that's another one. Marvel Street Fighter. Quite fancy that Cyberbots, I've never had that one. But yeah, there's quite a few really. But like I say, this coming 12 months, I really want to try and pick up a few more Saturn games and see where the journey takes me, rediscovering the Saturn. It's an amazing console, in my opinion. I was always on the Sega train. Always was, always will be probably. So it'll be nice to sort of play it a bit more and, you know, re-experience games I've had in the past and foolishly sold. But that'll do it for today, I think. I hope you enjoyed that. But and please let me know if there's anything, you know, what I didn't say there, and if there's other recommendations you can sort of put forward, what you think I should pick up. Be great to hear what you think. Yeah, I can't think of any more. I know there's more. I've got a list somewhere, but I can't think off the top of my head. No, it's not going to come to me. But anyway, thanks Crazy Gamers, but it's time to go. And given the choice, I choose retro.